The range hummed with its usual Saturday afternoon energy. The sharp cracks of pistol fire, the metallic chattering of brass hitting concrete, the murmur of casual conversations between shots. Laughter occasionally rose above the din as groups of regulars exchanged stories between targets. Into this familiar scene walked someone who clearly didn't belong. She moved differently than the others. Not the confident stride of experienced shooters, not the swagger of the tactical guys showing off their gear. Her steps were measured, almost hesitant, her arms held close to her body like she was trying to take up less space. The oversized sweatshirt and simple jeans stood in stark contrast to the high-speed operator gear surrounding her. No designer sunglasses, no plate carrier, not even proper ear protection, just the cheap orange foam plugs that came with the lane rental. A few heads turned as she approached the counter. The range officer glanced up, took in her appearance. In one practiced sweep, and barely suppressed a sigh. "First time?" he asked, though they both knew the answer. She nodded, fingers fidgeting with the waiver form. I used to shoot. Long time ago." The man 2 lanes down didn't bother to hide his snort of amusement. His buddy elbowed him with a grin, both decked out in matching camouflage hats and $300 shooting gloves. The message was clear without words, another faint-hearted liberal coming to conquer their fear of guns, just like last weekend's disaster with the trembling college kid. Even the rangemaster's instructions carried the tone of someone repeating well-worn lines. "Keep it pointed downrange. Finger off the trigger until ready to fire." He handed her the rental gun with the same detached professionalism one might use to issue a bowling ball. Through it all, one man stood apart. Near the end of the firing line, a broad-shouldered figure in a simple black t-shirt observed the scene with quiet detachment. His eyes tracked the new shooter like a veteran schoolteacher watching a nervous transfer student. The Navy SEAL commander didn't visibly react to the soft jokes circulating through the range, but something about the woman's posture caught his attention. The way her shoulders tensed at each burst of gunfire, not with fear, but with something else. Recognition, perhaps that as she loaded the magazine with awkward, deliberate movements. The chuckles grew louder. "Yo, you sure that's not backward?" someone called out. The woman froze for half a second too long before continuing, her knuckles whitening on the pistol grip. The SEAL's eyes narrowed slightly. She took her position at the firing line with none of the practiced ease of the other shooters. Her stance was unstable, feet too close together, elbows locked tight. The first shot rang out, a clean hit. On paper, if unimpressive for distance. The second went wide. Someone made an exaggerated flinching motion. The range officer opened his mouth to offer correction when something unexpected happened. On the third shot, something changed. Her grip steadied. Her breathing evened. The next 3 rounds landed in a tight grouping that would have been respectable at twice the distance. The laughing died down to uncertain murmurs. As she reached to reload, the oversized sleeve of her sweatshirt rode up just enough to reveal a sliver of inked skin near her wrist. Just a glimpse, but enough that at the end of the line. The SEAL commander went utterly still. His coffee cup halted halfway to his lips. Every muscle in his body tensed, like he'd spotted a live grenade in the middle of the range. His eyes locked onto that small patch of visible tattoo with the intensity of a man reading battlefield orders. The other shooters didn't notice the change, too busy adjusting their own shots and gear, but the air around Lane 7 had shifted. Something important had just happened. Something none of them understood yet. Asterisk. As the woman prepared for her next shot, the atmosphere in the range thickened with an unspoken tension. The laughter that had once echoed off the walls faded into an uneasy silence. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest, and focused on the target ahead. The paper silhouette stood still, a stark contrast to the chaos around her. She could feel the weight of the eyes on her, the scrutiny of the seasoned shooters who had once laughed at her. With each pull of the trigger, she felt a flicker of something familiar, something buried deep within her. The recoil jolted her hand, but she steadied herself, remembering the countless hours spent on ranges just like this one, years ago. The memories flooded back, the camaraderie, the adrenaline, the purpose. She had been part of something bigger, something that mattered. But that was a lifetime ago, and now she was just a woman in a sweatshirt, trying to reclaim a piece of herself. The SEAL commander remained fixated on her tattoo, a small emblem that spoke volumes. It was a symbol of her past, a mark of honor, that told a story of sacrifice and resilience. He recognized it immediately, the insignia of a combat medic from an elite unit, a badge of courage worn by those who had faced the worst of humanity and emerged stronger. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? What had she seen? Why was she here, in this moment, seemingly so out of place? As she fired again, the tattoo became more visible, the inked lines sharp against her skin. It was a reminder of battles fought, lives saved, and the weight of memories that could never be erased. The SEAL commander felt a surge of respect mixed with curiosity. He had seen many things in his career, but this was different. This was personal. The woman's next shot hit the target with precision, and a few murmurs of surprise rippled through the crowd. The laughter had been replaced by a sense of intrigue. The regulars began to lean in, their previous mockery fading into the background. They were witnessing something profound, a transformation unfolding before their eyes. With each shot, she grew more confident, her stance becoming steadier, her grip firmer. The gun felt familiar in her hands, a tool she had once wielded with purpose. The SEAL commander could see the change in her demeanor, the way her eyes lit up with determination. It was as if she was shedding the layers of doubt and fear that had held her back for so long. But beneath the surface, she was still battling her own demons. Each shot was a reminder of the past, of the lives she had saved and the ones she had lost. The weight of those memories pressed down on her, threatening to overwhelm her. She fought to keep her focus, to push through the pain and reclaim her identity. The SEAL commander felt a connection to her struggle. He had faced his own battles, both on and off the field. He understood the toll that service could take, the scars that remained long after the fighting had stopped. As he watched her, he felt a sense of kinship, a shared understanding of what it meant to carry the burden of the past. As she finished her round, the range fell silent once more. The woman stepped back from the line, her chest heaving with exertion. She glanced around, taking in the faces of those who had once mocked her. Now, they looked at her with a mix of respect and awe. The SEAL commander stepped forward, breaking the silence that hung in the air. Nice shooting, he said, his voice steady but warm. You've got skills. She looked up, surprised by the compliment. Thanks, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. He could see the uncertainty in her eyes, the flicker of vulnerability that lay beneath her newfound confidence. What's your story? He asked, genuinely curious. For a moment, she hesitated, the weight of her past pressing down on her. But something in his gaze encouraged her to open up. I was a combat medic, she said slowly, her voice gaining strength. I served for 12 years. I thought I could handle it all, but it's not that simple. The SEAL commander nodded, understanding the unspoken pain behind her words. I get it. It's hard to leave that life behind. She looked at him, surprised that he understood. I thought coming here would help me feel normal again. But I didn't expect. Her voice trailed off, and she gestured toward the other shooters, who were now watching with rapt attention. They didn't expect you to be good. He finished for her, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. But you showed them. A small smile broke through her uncertainty. I guess I did. The other shooters began to approach, their expressions shifting from skepticism to admiration. One of the men who had laughed earlier stepped forward. His demeanor noticeably changed. I'm sorry for the jokes, he said, his voice sincere. You really surprised us out there. Yeah, you shot better than half of us. Another chimed in, a hint of respect in his tone. The woman felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of belonging that had eluded her for so long. She had come to the range seeking solace, a way to reconnect with a part of herself that had been lost. But what she found was something far more powerful, a community that recognized her strength and resilience. As the conversation flowed, the SEAL commander remained nearby, listening intently. He could see the woman's confidence growing with each exchange, the way she began to share stories of her time in service. She spoke of the camaraderie among her fellow medics, the adrenaline of being on the front lines, and the heart-wrenching moments that had shaped her into the person she was today. The other shooters listened, captivated by her words. They had come to the range for a day of fun, but now they were part of something deeper. They were learning about sacrifice, bravery, and the complexities of life after service. The laughter that had once filled the air was replaced by a respectful silence, each person reflecting on their own experiences and the weight of their choices. As the sun began to set outside, casting a warm glow through the range windows, the atmosphere shifted once more. The woman felt a sense of peace wash over her, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. She had faced her fears, stood her ground, and found her voice. The SEAL commander stepped closer, his expression serious, yet encouraging. "You have a gift," he said, his voice low. "Don't let anyone take that away from you." She met his gaze, feeling the weight of his words. "I don't know if I can go back to that life," she admitted, vulnerability creeping back in. "You don't have to," he replied, his tone firm. "But you can carry it with you. Use it to inspire others. You've already started." The woman felt a swell of emotion, gratitude mixed with uncertainty. She had come to the range seeking a way to reclaim her past, but what she found was a path forward. The laughter and mockery had transformed into respect and understanding, and she realized that she was not alone in her journey. As the evening wore on, the group continued to share stories, laughter, and camaraderie. The SEAL commander remained a steady presence, offering encouragement and support. The woman felt a sense of belonging that had eluded her for so long, a connection to others who understood the complexities of life after service. In that moment, she knew she had taken the first step toward healing. The tattoo on her wrist was no longer just a reminder of the past. It was a symbol of her strength, her resilience, and her journey. She had faced the mockery and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the future with open arms. As the last light of day faded, the range buzzed with a newfound energy. The woman stood tall, surrounded by those who had once doubted her. She had found her place among them, not just as a shooter, but as a warrior in her own right. And in that moment, she knew she was ready to face whatever came next. The sudden silence at the range became louder than any gunshot. Every shooter froze mid-movement, fingers off triggers, coffee cups suspended in air. Even the ceiling fan seemed to slow its rotations. All eyes locked onto the SEAL commander's rigid posture, then followed his gaze downward to the woman's exposed wrist. Her forearm flexed as she smoothly chambered another round, revealing more of the intricate tattoo, a serpent coiled around a sword, its head forming an insignia only certain military personnel would recognize. The ink wasn't fresh. The faded edges told of years spent under desert suns and battlefield bandages. "Ma'am." The SEAL's voice cut through the stillness with practiced command tone, yet carried unfamiliar hesitation. "That's 7th Group insignia." Not a question. "Hey." Confirmation. Her shoulders stiffened almost imperceptibly. The rental pistol in her hands wavered for the first time since she'd started shooting, not from recoil, but memory. The casual observers wouldn't notice how her thumb automatically found the safety switch in a muscle memory motion dating back to Kandahar Province. 3 lanes down, a former Marine dropped his magazine loader with a clatter that echoed like artillery shell casings on concrete. He'd seen similar tattoos, but only in Memorial Day ceremonies. Never on a living woman standing in a civilian gun range wearing Walmart jeans. The SEAL commander took one measured step forward, his tactical boots silent on the rubber matting. Every shooter present unconsciously held their breath. This was beyond range etiquette now. This was warriors recognizing each other across the divide of civilian life. When she finally turned, her eyes told the whole story before her lips moved. That 1,000-yard stare veteran spot in crowded supermarkets. The slight flinch at sudden movements behind her. The way her breathing changed rhythm when metal clicked against metal downrange. "Had a buddy with that same caduceus variant," the commander said quietly, deliberately not reaching for a handshake. "Saved 17 operators before an IED." He trailed off, watching her reaction. Her knuckles whitened around the pistol grip. Not from fear, from the phantom weight of a rucksack medical kit. The scent of antiseptic and blood that no amount of range gunpowder could mask. The echoes of shouted triage orders in her skull. That a smartphone clattered to the floor in the sudden quiet. Normally at a gun range, that'd earn annoyed glares. Today, nobody even blinked. The college kid who dropped it stared with dawning realization at the woman's scarred hands. Not range burns, but the distinctive marks of someone who'd repeatedly shoved them into trauma wounds stanching blood flow. You were there. The SEAL didn't specify which there. He didn't need to. Of the 9 major conflicts that might explain both their presences here today, only one involved female combat medics working alongside Tier 1 teams with that specific unit marking. The first tear hit the shooting bench with an almost comically loud splat considering the circumstances. Not hers. The tattooed mechanic 2 lanes over, big dude with Semper Fi across his knuckles, was unexpectedly swiping at his eyes with greasy fingers. He'd lost a cousin in that same mountain pass. She exhaled sharply through her nose, that distinctive controlled breathing every combat medic masters. Then did something nobody expected, racked the slide with a crisp snap, raised the pistol one-handed, and put 5 rounds through the same bullet hole at 15 yards without using the sights. The sound of shredded target paper fluttering too. The concrete floor might as well have been a cannon shot in the stunned silence. Even the SEAL commander's eyebrows lifted slightly at the display of instinctive shooting, the kind only developed through thousands of repetitions under fire. "That's impossible," whispered the tactical guy who'd mocked her earlier, now shrinking behind his $3,000 rifle like it could protect him from the weight of his ignorance. "What's impossible?" the woman said without turning, her voice carrying that eerie calm of someone who'd given bad news to grieving families, "is walking through an aid station full of 19-year-olds with their guts in their hands and pretending. It doesn't still wake you up at 3 a.m. Nobody breathed for 3 full seconds. Some truths hit harder than bullets. The SEAL commander surprised everyone then by doing something utterly unprecedented on a Saturday at Shooter's Paradise. He came to parade rest. Not the sloppy civilian version. The real deal, spine straight. As a rifle barrel, hands clasped behind his back, weight perfectly balanced. A warrior's salute. Range rule number 3. Never point a weapon at anything you're not willing to destroy. But right now, every careless word spoken earlier in mockery hung in the air like discharged smoke, burning the throats of those who'd uttered them. The college kid, barely legal to buy cigarettes let alone rent a 9mm, made an aborted movement toward his fancy ear protection like he didn't deserve to wear it anymore. His hands trembled in a way that had nothing to do with recoil. Behind the counter, the range master slowly put down his clipboard. The laminated rules sheet fluttered, the one that said "No horseplay" in bold letters. Nobody needed reminding. Today, then, because combat medics specialize in impossible saves, she threw everyone a lifeline. "Any of you know proper tourniquet technique?" The question hung in the air like a ceasefire offer. 17 hands went up. 17 postures straightened. 17 faces remembered similar training from Boy Scouts or police academies, or that one YouTube video they'd skimmed last month. The tension didn't vanish, but it shifted, became something teachable. Even the SEAL commander blinked at her tactical genius. In 5 words, she'd turned a moment of unbearable weight into range practice. The civilian shooters practically vibrated with the need to prove they weren't completely useless now that they understood who stood among them. When the woman finally stepped back from the firing line, not retreating, just making space, the reactions came in waves. The ex-Marine snapping to attention without thinking. The tactical guy discreetly removing his operator morale patch. The college kid digging through his range bag for the unopened trauma kit his mom insisted he carry. And the SEAL commander? He did something even more unexpected. Reached into his cargo pocket and produced a business card, the plain white kind with just a phone number in black ink. "We've got a veterans group," he said, holding it between 2 fingers like a brass casing. "Shooting therapy. Thursday nights." The slightest pause. "Could use another qualified instructor." The card hovered in the air between them for 3 heartbeats, long enough for everyone watching to realize this wasn't pity. This was a combat jump invitation. Extraction offered, but only if she wanted extraction. When she finally took it, the entire range exhaled. Some deep mechanism in the universe clicked back into alignment. The woman's fingers didn't tremble anymore. The SEAL commander's shoulders lost their battlefield tension. Even the fluorescent lights overhead seemed to brighten, and when she turned back to the firing line, when she raised the unremarkable rental pistol once more, every shooter on that range watched with new eyes. Because now they saw what had been there all along. Not some nervous amateur, not someone to laugh at, but a warrior who'd walked through hell armed with nothing but gauze and guts, who still remembered how to fight, and was maybe, just maybe, starting to remember how to live too.